Hi there, it's Kenneth here. I'm here with Steve Burgess. We're going to talk about hypnotherapy, and we're going right to it, okay? And it's in English, to hear. All right, Steve, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Kenneth. Thank you.
So you've been doing hypnotherapy for a long, long time. So how did you start that process, and for how long have you been doing this?
Yeah, I've been a hypnotherapist now for over 27 years. 2020 will be my 28th year. And I've been around the block a long time. I've done over 15,000 hypnotherapy and therapy sessions in that time. So I've treated a wide range of problems. And how I got started with stopping smoking, basically, because my father had smoked all of his life and was desperate to stop and was unable to stop. He tried everything. And eventually, in desperation, he went to see a hypnotherapist and he stopped smoking. And my father couldn't understand what the hell this was about, because my dad's a scientist by profession. And he couldn't understand how it was that he'd been to see this man, and this man laid him down in a comfortable chair and told him to close his eyes and talk to him softly for half an hour. And at the end of that, my dad didn't want to smoke cigarettes anymore. And he thought, "What? This doesn't make sense." So it niggled him. So he started to read about hypnosis. And the more he read about hypnosis, the more fascinated he became. Yeah. To such a degree that eventually he thought, "I want to do this." And so he went and trained in hypnotherapy with the man that stopped him smoking, or helped him to stop smoking, and started to work part-time from home at that time and just played with it, really. And that's how I got involved in that way. So, and what basically happened after my initial training, I just did nothing else other than smoking cessation sessions for many months, which was boring as hell, but it certainly brought in some good money. And it actually helped me to establish myself as a hypnotherapist, because what was happening from time to time is people wouldn't stop smoking. You know, it wasn't that easy for them. So then I had to sort of think, well, what's going on here? So we started to have to look at other ways of working to help them to stop, or even look at the emotional causes of the smoking, which are very rarely looked at. So I sort of started to develop from that, and then people would call me to lose weight, help with phobias, etc. And it just took off from there.
Interesting with the emotional cause of a problem, because in society we are told to just look at the surface problem, like smoking, weight, addictions in general, habits, and they're all emotional root causes to why we have those habits and those patterns and those addictions. So, but how did you come about to find out that there's more to this? There's not just you can use hypnotherapy quite effectively to have people stop smoking. And like you said, for some it doesn't work, and that's because there's something more there that needs to be what do you call it? Just looked at and
worked on, yeah, opened up.
So how was your how did you come into that, knowing that, oh, there's some emotional stuff going on? I mean,
well, I didn't really. I mean, my initial hypnotherapy training was pretty rubbish. And it taught me to do a great job with stopping smoking and telling people to lose weight. But anything other than that, and I was stuffed. So, of course, what would happen is people would not stop smoking. So I'd keep doing the same thing. We'd try to give them more suggestions or different visualizations. And it became obvious that, you know, if you keep doing the same thing expecting a different result, then that's a definition of insanity. Yes. So I actually went and retrained after my initial training with a very good, brilliant therapist. And he actually taught me that really we all have a process going on inside us. We're not aware of this inner process, but very often the aim of therapy is to change that process in a positive way. And so I started to look at this, working with clients in a different way, a deeper level, working with their inner process. And then at the same time as I started to work with regression as well. And of course, regression is usually all about working on the emotional and the energetic causes of the problem. And that just exploded my work. It really did. And it really took off in a big, big way. And you're quite right, you know, because modern society, we are taught that, you know, there's the symptom, just give it a tablet. Or there's the symptom and do an NLP technique to quickly wipe it away. And NLP is fantastic, of course, but it doesn't work with the roots of the problem.
No.
And of course, we go to the doctor and we say, I want a tablet to make me better. Well, in therapy, you don't get a tablet to make you better. It's a question of working on yourself with the help of a therapist to work on the problem to release it. And that's what regression is about, of course.
Yeah. Do you think that, have you noticed any difference in people's openness to contact the therapist or to work with themselves, like doing the inner work? Because it seems like people are more aware of it now, that, okay, there's something happening inside of me. It's actually not outside of me. It's not externally. It's something internally.
Yeah,
you notice?
Definitely. You know, I mean, I've been doing it 27 years, and in the UK 27 years ago, hypnotherapy was not a big thing. It was coming on nicely and it was opening up, well, like it is in Norway. I mean, it's a similar process here. It's opening up all the time in Norway, and but generally people are aware now, because regression and books like my books have got out there to tell people about how powerful it is. People are now starting to think, okay, there is something deeper going on. And of course, you know, we've got stuff on the internet and courses, and there's all sorts of things happening. So the world has changed. Yeah, there's still some resistance. Some people are still resistant to working on themselves because it's easier to get a tablet and hope that that fixes something. But the real art of working as a therapist, and I think one of the most wonderful things about being a human being, is that we can change what's going on inside us in order to change ourselves for the better, and change our lives, of course, as well. So it's much more well known than it was 25, 26, 27 years ago.
Yeah.
And of course, the great thing in Norway, I mean, it's a different society here to Britain. It's a more traditional society, but it is opening up and it is happening. I mean, I remember when I first came to Norway about 10 years ago to run a regression training course for another organization. And I was told, and don't talk about past lives because Norway isn't ready for it.
Wow.
And on the first morning, everybody on the course, there's about 30 therapists there, was introducing themselves. And then I gave a preview. I said, this is what we'll be doing over the next few days in the regression training. And somebody said, excuse me, but you haven't mentioned past lives. So I said, well, I didn't think we're going to be working in past lives because I was told that Norway isn't ready for past lives yet. And the whole room exploded. 30 people all said, but that's why we're here. That's what we want to learn. We're fascinated with past lives.
Yeah.
But that hit me in the face, that Norway is ready. I mean, you've got a wonderful princess who's out there giving a lot of information about new agey things and getting people to change the viewpoints. Whether you agree with everything she says or not, she's certainly getting people to reassess things and to think differently. And so great for her.
She's sowing seeds.
She's sowing seeds. Good words, yeah.
Yes.
So.
You're talking a lot about regression and of course the past life thing, and it seems like it's a subject that, like you say, I mean, we're initially going to talk about hypnotherapy, but I see within all the questions and replies there, the word regression comes out. So could you explain regression? Just how would you explain regression for a person that has never heard about what regression is?
Okay. It's quite simply this. I tend to say every issue we have, whatever the issue is, phobias, depression, lack of confidence, weight problems, etc. It's like a weed that grows up and it causes problems. And what a lot of traditional therapists do is they try to chop the weed down. Very much like you go to the doctor, you've got a physical problem, and he gives you a tablet, and that just works on the symptom to try to kill the weed. Unfortunately, what happens is there are still roots of that weed going into the ground. What often happens is if you don't dig out the roots, then very often the weed starts to grow back again.
Yes.
The plant grows back again. The problem comes back. The sickness, the illness comes back. regression is about digging out the roots of the problem. You dig out the causes. It's about working on the emotional, the energetic causes of the problem, digging out those roots, and then the problem's gone. And it can be magical.
Yeah, indeed it is. In my world, it is magic.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just a matter of what you define as magic. Or regression is definitely something that goes so deeply and really you can get to the root cause of things. What I think people are wondering about is, what is the emotional and energetic root cause? Like what is that specifically?
Good question. These are emotional traumas. These are traumatic events, what we call significant emotional events, experience that take place in somebody's life or in the past lives, or even in an ancestor's life, in their forefeder life. Traumas which get locked in inside them. So the concept of regression therapy is that we're working on the emotional traumas. It's the whole model of regression. All of our problems come from locked in feelings, emotions from the past. And when we release those feelings, when we release those emotions, the problem goes. Now, okay, it isn't often a fun process. It can be very emotional. It can be physical, a lot of movement, a lot of releasing. But it's dramatic. And sometimes, actually, it's not about the emotion. It's about just getting an understanding of the problem. An awareness of why I have this problem now, because that happened back then.
Yeah. So regression is basically going back in time and digging out the weeds.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
And like you said as well, I mean, the people are wondering, but it happened like 30 years ago. I'm done with it now.
Yeah.
So what's happening here? When somebody says that, what are you thinking?
It's bullshit, basically. Simple as.
Yeah, and why are you thinking that?
You can try and bury it, but it's still in the past and it's still causing problems.
Yes, and what is your thought? Why is it still there? Why are we keeping locked in emotions like that? What is that? Why is that?
It's something to do with the way the subconscious works. Some people would say it gets locked in our energy field, and that's a viable way of looking at it. I say it's locked in the subconscious, which basically means the subconscious mind, which is the deeper mind, the 99.999% of the mind that we don't usually use, that takes the trauma in and holds the trauma. So let me give you an example. I mean, I had a lady came to me with a dog phobia of dogs. She was terrified of dogs. She could hardly go out of the house in case she saw a dog. And if she went out of the house, she had to have 3 or 4 people with her, around her, in case there were any dogs. She just couldn't go out very often. I mean, if she happened to go into a city centre, she had people around to protect her. And wherever she went, there were dogs, and they all came to her, which is a real real horrible thing for her.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I said, so what's caused this? How long have you had it for? She said, I've had it all of my life. Even as a child, I was terrified. But I haven't got a clue what's caused it. I said, okay, fine. Well, hypnosis is a wonderful way to move into the past. It's a phenomenal way to go back into the past. I think it's the best way of all for me personally, better than any other system. But the way of going back in the past in trance, in a hypnotic state, is we just take the client into trance, we relax them, we take them a little bit deeper. And then I asked the subconscious to go back to the cause of the dog phobia. And the next thing, she starts to remember when she was 2 years old, being stuck in a little buggy. Mommy took her in a buggy, a chair, out to the park for a walk. And she was strapped in so she couldn't get out. And Mommy just left her sitting next to the lake in the park looking at the ducks and walked off to have a chat with a friend. And then suddenly this big dog comes over to her and starts to smell this interesting little object, this 2-year-old object, and the dog is smelling her, and my client is like this, and suddenly the dog bit her. She tried to hit the dog and it bit her on the cheek. And she became very emotional in the session because that scared the little child. And, she couldn't get out of the pushchair, the buggy. And that was the cause of the phobia. She'd forgotten about that. Now, that doesn't mean to say that all causes are forgotten, because very often we can remember exactly when a problem started and what caused it, just that we haven't released the emotion. So that lady released the fear and the tears, and at the end of the session she was very shocked because she'd forgotten about this, and then she said, I do remember it now. Now I've released, now I do remember that did happen. I'd totally forgotten before. How do you feel about dogs now? Yeah, fine. The phobia had gone. And in fact, a few weeks later, she knocked on my office door and she brought me photographs of herself sitting in the back of a car right next to this bloody great big dog that was her daughter's in America.
Wow.
Just to show that it had completely gone. So, you know, that's the way regression works. It's about going into hypnosis, into this trance state, as we call it, moving into the subconscious, the deeper mind, and then reliving and re-experiencing whatever's happened to cause the problem in the first place.
Yes. So the way of like separating like the logical mind versus the subconscious mind, which, because people think that, oh, since I logically don't remember anything, or since I think that I'm done with that event or done with the past or done with that person, then we think actually, or we don't think we're ignorant and trying to actually get away from working it out or actually going into it. So I think that when we say we're done with it, it can be a matter of not being aware of that. It actually, our body remembers, because our body remembers, the subconscious mind, our body remembers what we've been through, like every second of our whole life, and even back in time. So it's a matter of firstly being aware that, okay, so it may be that I'm carrying something that I think I'm done with, that I'm actually not done with. The second thing is that people know about it and actually are not prepared to go into it. That's where habit comes in. Let me just ignore this by smoking a lot or drinking a lot or eating a lot or gambling a lot or shopping a lot, or but it's nothing, and it's nothing right or wrong anyways. It's just a matter of, I think that our time now as a collective, like humanity on earth now, especially in countries where we have the access to doing therapy and doing this stuff, I think we're aware now that, okay, I do actually carry stuff and I need to I'm responsible for releasing it. I mean, of course, it's not okay that things happen, but I'm actually responsible for taking the action, taking the step to do something with what I'm carrying. So and it's interesting, like you say, that when things let go, and people also let go of the problem as well.
Yes. Yeah, and it can be very simple, and it's usually very fast. I mean, this is, you know, in America, people go for analysis, for therapy for years, and it's so necessary. In most cases, people can get better, you know, really quite quickly. Okay, some people need several sessions, some people need quite a lot of sessions, some people only a few sessions. But it is radical. It's not like having to spend years getting somewhere or finding something. Hypnosis is this brilliant tool for digging out, for accessing the stuff that's been forgotten or which is in the past, wherever it is in the past.
There's something more to this, because like we're talking about now, we're not saying that hypnosis helps for everything all the time, all the way. It's more a matter of if we have an issue, what do you think about this? It's not like hypnosis will take you from A to C, like, and just wiping out the whole issue. Isn't there something that a person needs to do? Like if a person releases some anxiety, panic attacks, and the hypnosis and the regression session help that person release that and be free from it, that person will maybe still need to take some steps like setting boundaries, speaking up, maybe change something in their diet, or just change something, maybe leave that relationship or doing something different there or here. What do you think? Is it actually, would you say that hypnosis just helps with everything, period? Now you're done, now you're free? Or do
Well,
you think that people need
I
to
think
do
it's how
more?
you use the hypnosis, because there are so many different strands. There are so many different ways of working with hypnotherapy. So, I mean, okay, just answering your question in one way is to say, yes, you know, a person has to change the way they're thinking afterwards. Maybe they've got to change the diet. Maybe they've got to make changes in the life after they've released the roots of a problem. But I think we should remember that that regression is just one way of working in therapy. Now, hypnotherapy covers a variety of other different ways. So the most common way is to reprogram the subconscious mind. So it's to put a new program in the subconscious. Now, many hypnotherapists just do this and nothing else, and that can be very successful. Basically, that's used especially with stopping smoking and weight loss, maybe even nail biting as well. And building confidence. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with that side of hypnotherapy. So a lot of hypnotherapists, we train in what we call hypnotic suggestions, how to reprogram the subconscious, putting positive suggestions in. And the more that a person hears those suggestions, the more the subconscious makes them happen. So that's very powerful, and that's another powerful way of working with hypnotherapy.
Yes, it is.
We've also got NLP techniques, and NLP are very fast ways of working. We've also got EFT, of course, the wonderful tapping process. So there's all these other therapies, all these other ways of working that can help a person to get better, or that can actually make them even better after we've done the releasing work. And yet in some cases we don't have to do anything. The person gets so much better, their life changes, and automatically they make all the changes they need to make without any extra work from the therapist.
Yes, and that's a thing that's interesting. When you release or when you reprogram your thinking, like reprogramming thinking by with positive words, because that's what it is. That using the power of words to reprogram the mind to automatically think differently. And it's also like when you release something like digging out the weeds or reprogram yourself, it's so much easier to make the changes automatic. Because you will be inspired to, and you will feel like doing it.
Very much so.
Yeah. And of course that's a good thing. I think there's a window open there for a while after people have done therapy. Don't you think that there's a window open or a door open where people can walk in and do a lot of changes in their life? But what about those that maybe don't take that step in that door, in that direction, and just wait for everything to just turn out better themselves? What happens there?
Well, I mean, in some cases it will happen. For some people, they don't have to do anything. The door is open, we've cleared the stuff out, the subconscious has released stuff, and it just makes things happen, and things change for that person automatically all by themselves. And if a person, many people like to use that, as you say, that time after the therapy, the door open time, where they can actually do more to make it more powerful. And those people that don't, well, they've got better from the basic problem, so they don't mind. They're okay. There's nothing else for them to do. So I think the thing that we should say with hypnotherapy is it makes it easier to change, as you say. You know, I read about people who are doing positive affirmations and giving themselves positive affirmations. But if you've got a big bucket full of negativity inside you, and you keep just putting positive affirmations in, then that's hard work. My attitude is empty the bucket. Then you put the affirmations in, and then they take place, and then they work. Now, there's nothing wrong with generally giving ourselves positive affirmations, but what I'm saying is that if you can just get rid of the negative, then it makes the positive work so much more easily.
Yeah, I think that people want to use positive affirmations by themselves just to avoid doing the
work sometimes.
Work. What I'm also thinking about, I have a theory that if you start using positive affirmations, like consciously using affirmations to empower yourself, I believe that the empowering affirmations will squeeze all the negativity from the bucket wants to come out. So doing like positive reprogramming may trigger negative emotions for some, because the more positivity that you bring into your system, the more your vibration raises, and the more of the negative stuff that we're carrying wants to come out. It's like a detox.
There's a conflict that comes up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you're living in conflict. So part of your mind is saying, yeah, I feel wonderful and everything's wonderful in my life. And another part of the mind's going, ah. And that conflict is hard work.
It's hard work.
And yet, I think one of the things is people are often, they think that it's hard work doing the therapy. And it actually isn't. Because the subconscious, the trance state, makes it easier to do the work.
Yes.
Okay,
you just have to show up.
Almost. You've got to show up and go inside yourself and let things happen. But that's much easier than going week after week for therapy, where you've got to focus and talk and concentrate and come up with different things. We let the subconscious, and the phrase, as we know, Kenneth, is your subconscious knows best.
Yes.
It's our higher self. It's the part of us that is connected to the higher self. Maybe is our higher self. And it has this awesome wisdom. So when you start working in that way, which can be almost a spiritual approach, it isn't spiritual, but it has a sense of that, then the subconscious does the work and moves the person on beautifully in its own way. It knows best. Yeah. You know, there are times I work with a client's subconscious and I'm awestruck by the wonderful way in which the subconscious is working.
Yeah, I agree. And this is an important thing as well. I mean, to differentiate between more basic or standard, what we think therapy is, to talk about our problems. And just talking about our problems means venting them out to a person and then just leaving that session with the problem still in the body. While working with the subconscious mind, like you said, it's more like allowing the subconscious wisdom to be the guide in a way. Yeah. I mean, to do the work, because it's almost like our body's intelligence and wisdom knows what to do, but with our mind, we stop ourselves. We want to talk about it or run away from it, or the power of the subconscious mind is magical.
And it's easy to tap into. This is the thing. I think people often think it's complicated and difficult. It's technical, and as therapists, we know the technicalities and we know how to tap into the subconscious. But in essence, it really is an easy process. And for some people, very easy. Because I think we should remember, especially within hypnotherapy, 1 in 4 of all people is very hypnotizable. 25 to 30% of people go into trance, go into hypnosis very easily. And they can really work at very deep levels. That's awesome. Somebody who's in that sort of bracket, we can get them better within a few sessions, sometimes after just 1 session. Yeah. And they can do many things. They can block pain. We can release pain. We can block pain. With somebody especially who is very good at hypnosis, and this can happen just in the first session. Yeah. As you know, I mean, I'm one of the few therapists in the world who has done hypnosurgery. One of my clients, we did a life-saving operation, a major operation in a hospital in the UK, without any anesthetic, with no painkillers. And it was a massive success. And she didn't feel a thing. The surgeon afterwards was amazed. He said it was like operating on a dead body.
When people hear you saying this now, I think that some won't believe it.
Well, I suppose so. I mean,
because it's pretty crazy that you can do like a surgery
yeah.
without anesthetics, because you use the power of the mind.
All of this stuff is online, on YouTube. There's hypnosurgery. You can see people doing this. There was a British program some years ago where they repaired a hernia in a man's stomach live on TV while he was in hypnosis.
Yeah, that's insane.
So, this is amazing stuff. And we know the power of the mind. It's just that people aren't always prepared to accept it. Or, of course, the medical profession doesn't want people to accept it because they want to keep putting tablets inside people. But we can do so much with it.
Do you think that more doctors are beginning to open their minds to like hypnotherapy, for example?
Well, there's 2 things there.
Using it with, like,
it is happening slowly. Certainly within the childbirth system, many midwives now, many nurses are learning hypnosis to help with childbirth, because it's certainly it's very possible in childbirth to have a pain-free childbirth, or to have a childbirth with vastly reduced pain and medication, and it speeds the childbirth up. So many nurses and midwives are learning it. A lot of doctors do learn hypnosis, but they hardly ever seem to use it, because the system is all about putting chemicals inside of people.
Yeah.
Because the pharmaceuticals, of course, are sponsoring the universities, the training universities, and the doctors themselves. So, you know, it's almost like we're working against that. But there are some doctors who are using it. I mean, we had a German doctor who came to Norway and trained with me in hypnosis a few years ago. He's done hypnosurgery now. He did again, he filmed it, removing something from somebody's back without any anesthetic, and that was a great success. So, yeah, more and more doctors are looking at it, and we do get, you know, doctors recommending patients to see us if they can do so, because obviously doctors know the limitations of what they're doing. But it's a slow process.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to
it's
say.
opening up, like you say. So one thing I think many are wondering about is when we talk about hypnosis, regression, hypnotherapy, is that a process where people are just completely unaware what's happening, or are they like consciously aware of what's going on in that process? I think
that's a great question. Yeah, because a lot of people see stage hypnotists on TV hypnotists, and of course what they do is they click the finger and say sleep, and everybody's got their eyes closed. So people often think that hypnosis is sleep. Well, it isn't. I often say if a client's asleep in my chair, I have to wake them up because they're no good to me. So hypnosis is not asleep. It's not being awake. We often say it's being relaxed. Yeah. So I say to most of my clients, think relaxation. It's a form of relaxation. Usually when people go into trance, and that's our word trance we use for hypnosis. When people go into trance, usually they just become more relaxed, more at ease. They feel calmer. Very often they don't want the session to finish because it's such a lovely experience. Yeah. And then, you know, when they play recordings, as you do, as I do, we make recordings for our clients, and we put the recordings out for them to listen to, and they just can listen at home and relax again and do visualizations, etc. So the hypnotic state is not sleep. It's not being in a coma. It's not knowing what's going on. It's not being under my control. It's just a state of relaxed inner awareness. And in fact, anybody who meditates regularly is going into trance regularly, because hypnosis and meditation are just very much the same.
Yeah. And daydreaming.
And daydreaming, the same, thank you. Automatic pilot on the car. Yeah. All of those experiences are trance. So we say trance is natural. Hypnosis is natural. There's nothing, you know, it's not weird, and it's not swinging watch chains and doing weirdo things. It's just a nice, pleasant state. It really is.
Yes.
And of course, the great thing is the range of problems we can fix. You know, it isn't just about smoking or weight loss. I mean, I've relationship problems, anxieties, phobias, lack of confidence, sports performance, pain management, you name it. Hypnotherapy can be used for it. Stress, of course, in a very big way. And it's just remarkable, the range of applications. It's Paul McKenna, who's the most famous hypnotist, of course, in the world. He said, if you could bottle hypnosis, it would be mankind's wonder drug. And I think that says it all. I really do.
When you spoke now, it just came to me, like, you know, coaching is like something that people are more and more open to now as well. And I was thinking, so hypnotherapy is coaching for the subconscious mind, or coaching with the subconscious. Yes. So it's more like communicating with the deeper part rather than communicating with the rational, logical part, which is, for most people, I mean, like Eckhart Tolle says, he says that the mind is the root of all pain. You know, thinking without awareness is the root of all pain. So we go about our lives thinking 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day without being aware of what we're actually thinking. And all those thoughts are programming our subconscious mind. And by using hypnosis, we can start to just unfold and unpack everything and just get it to surface and start working with it and becoming more aware. So I think hypnotherapy is a process. No matter if people are coming for stop smoking sessions after hypnotherapy sessions, I think they are more aware. Like, okay, so there's something happening inside of me. Actually, I didn't know that I had a life inside of me. I thought that everything was out here or in my head.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think that hypnotherapy actually opened people up, like the awareness of people, the consciousness of people,
Yeah.
And help them to sow seeds. Of course, depending on how open the person is from the start.
But it does help people to grow, definitely in a big way. They become more aware, and that fact that you become aware you have an inner process and that process can be changed means that you are then responsible for changing it. You don't have to take a tablet to make something happen. So it gives you responsibility. It puts you back in control, actually. Whereas before you thought you had no control, actually now we do have some form of control.
Yes.
And that does help. And of course, I mean, just even bigger than that, Kenneth, I mean, just thinking about the past life side of things. And of course, past life regression and past life is very controversial. I mean, I'm one of the few therapists in the world who will stand up and be counted that past lives are extremely real, and past life therapy is incredibly important. Now, it doesn't matter whether the therapist or the client believes in previous lives at all, as long as they let the process happen. But what we usually find is that when a person has done past life therapy, they are much more aware that there is something bigger than just the mundane here on earth. Yeah. So it isn't a spiritual process, but it can become spiritual.
It can.
But it helps the person to tap into a higher sense of something.
Yes.
And realize that, there is something more than just the mundane going on.
Yes.
So, I mean, even just, and look at as we know, when we do past life regression, it's often we take clients back through the deaths in the past life.
Yes.
So, which, I mean, to people who listen to this for the first time, probably thinking, what the hell is that about? You're killing people. I say, look, I have people dying in my chair in past lives every day. But it's perfectly safe as long as it's done correctly. And, we do it correctly, of course.
It's safe to die.
Say that again?
It's safe to die in your chair.
It's safe to die in my chair, I know. But what that does is, when people have gone through some past life therapy and released some deaths in past lives, they very often lose a fear of dying in this lifetime. There's this like natural byproduct, an extra bonus for the therapy, that people just don't feel as scared about dying anymore. So that's a beautiful thing as well. And anything that can help us to feel more at ease inside ourselves, I think is a good process.
Of course, of course. And like you said, that even if you don't believe in the process, as long as you're open to change, like if someone comes into your office, if probably they're ready and open to do the change. If not, they have someone like making them book a session. So I do think that whatever the reason and however open or not open you are, I actually think that you will benefit from hypnotherapy in some way.
I mean, but as you know, I've done thousands of past life regression sessions. I mean, I just remember, for example, one lady who came, and she was a magistrate, a judge in England in the courts. So she was not some sort of new agey spiritual person at all. And she came with a very bad back problem, a very bad back, and it was causing lots of problems. She'd even had surgery, had operations, and they couldn't find anything wrong. And I often say when there's a mystery illness in the body, it's nearly always past life. And her subconscious actually said it came from 4 past lives. And the first past life was the most important. She found she was a Nazi soldier in the Second World War. And she got shot in Russia, on the Russian front, by a sniper. And the bullet went straight through where the back problem is now.
Oh.
And she died in that life in the snow, lay dying in the snow.
Oh.
As a result of those sessions with me, the back problem was completely cured. I mean, it just went away completely, as if it had never existed. She got her life back. She felt more confident. She could go to the gym. She lost weight. She picked up with an old boyfriend and fell in love with him again. Her life was just transformed by releasing the back pain. So, people don't have to believe if it's real or not. Many people come to me not even knowing about past lives, and the subconscious works with the stuff and gets them better. Of course, many people believe in past lives nowadays because it's such a big subject.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. I've had people come with no knowledge. In fact, I've even had people come to me and say, past lives is rubbish, I don't believe it. But the subconscious has taken them into a past life and it's cleared the problem and they've got better. And then they've thought, okay, maybe I have to change my beliefs a little bit here.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. Just changing our beliefs once in a while.
Maybe so. And but that,
if we talk about beliefs, they say that 90% of our beliefs are formed when we're 0 to 6 years old. So if you haven't done any inner work on yourself and not worked on your your baggage and working on yourself as in personal spiritual growth, then you're just recycling ancestral beliefs actually from your childhood, and it's from your parents and their parents and their parents and their parents, and so it goes. So I think the hypnotherapy is a tool in our time to start to change many old outdated.
And you've mentioned childhood. I mean, a lot of our work as therapists is healing the wounds of childhood, because most people have got emotional baggage from childhood. So again, we often do inner child therapy. We'll work with the client's inner child. We all have an inner child to heal the child inside. And this is done in a variety of ways, but especially through visualizations. And visualizations seem to work best when we're in hypnosis, because the subconscious is the seat of our imagination. So we'll work with an inner child to heal childhood wounds. We can work with, as you said, stuff coming from our ancestors, our forfedra, that is causing us problems now. And that could be traumas that happened to our great-great-grandparents, or it could be a family disaster that's happened, or beliefs that have come down.
Yeah.
And, that's amazing when you work with that stuff and it gets people better.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It is. Steve, I think we have to do this again.
Okay.
Chatting about this.
I'd be very happy to. I love doing what I'm doing, as you know. I love talking what I'm doing because it's so effective.
I actually want to ask you some more questions, but I do think it's a good way to just fade this out. And is there something you want to share, something you want to talk about that I haven't spoken about?
What I would always say is if anybody wants to contact me, talk to me, I'm happy talking. Send me an email, talk on the phone, on Skype or Zoom or whatever. I'm very happy, sharing stuff. And if people are asking about, especially about the hypnotherapy course, of course, if people want to know more in-depth information, then very happy to talk about that.
Yeah.
And give them information about that. So if people want to contact me, then come through you maybe. My contact you and you can give them the information. Yeah.
Yes, I will leave the contact information in the description of the video. And like Steve said, he's doing hypnotherapy training as well. He's doing the course. So he's a man that has done hypnotherapy for 27 years, and he's teaching his strategies for helping people, which has been the most valuable thing that I've gone through in terms of my own process of healing and awakening to just be more of who I am, like free from all the baggage, free from all the outdated beliefs, and constantly just clearing all the shit that shows up in day-to-day life. And we can use hypnotherapy to really enhance the quality of our lives in so many ways. And thank you for being a part of that, Steve.
It's my pleasure, Kenneth. My pleasure. I just think we haven't even mentioned EFT much today, so we've got all that to talk about as well.
We're going to talk about that next time, then. Are you eager to talk about it now?
Next time.
We will. All right, Steve. Thank you for being you. Thank you for being here with me, and we'll speak soon.
Great. Great. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for watching and listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you
Bye
for
for
watching.
now. Bye.